What's going on, everybody? Another episode of the Dragon's Lair. I have a very special guest on today. Man, a gentleman whose name is a household name, Mr. Brandon Steiner. I want to introduce you to my guys, everybody in my audience. Say hello.
Well, hello. Thanks for having me. You know what's weird is we're just talking about this. Like, people know Brandon Steiner, which I'm extremely grateful. You know, you work really hard. You hope that maybe people would notice what you're doing and have it stick. But Steiner's not with Steiner anymore. I haven't been for 3 years. I built this new company, which I think is going to be even better and bigger for the customer, for the fan, for the fanatic that really loves collecting and the stuff that goes along with it. Collectible Exchange, I started 4 years ago, collectibleexchange.com, and it's a place where you can buy, sell. Because I guess, what do you do when you have all this stuff and maybe you don't love it anymore? But you can come on my site, we guide you, we help you authenticate it, and help you can trade. And by the way, I don't think I've had more than 30 or 40,000 items on Steiner, and I think we're close to 150,000 items on Collectible Exchange, just to give you an idea. But my goal is to have the biggest collectible site in the world with products from all over the world from the greatest collectors. And the greatest collectors are, I always thought I was like this great collector, but I did some cool stuff. But the great collectors are they're listening to this pod. They're like all over the place in the most weirdest places that have incredible collections. And I'm able to collaborate all those collections, because how do you know, like, some guy in Des Moines, Iowa, or some guy in San Francisco, how are you going to know about these people and their collections, and they're all collaborating on my site? And the difference between me and eBay is I'm allowing people to use their names as they're building out their stores on my site. So it's pretty cool.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Amazing, Brandon. So I got to tell you, I read an article and it said about kind of how you took the pieces of the old Yankee Stadium and you created the sports memorabilia out of that. I got to tell you, I think that's just fascinating. Tell everybody, like, kind of how that deal worked. Where did you come up with that idea? And I know it wasn't easy. Tell us about some of the struggles you had to overcome to get that deal.
So you call it fascinating. I probably call it stupid. But, I'll tell you a quick story about this. I worked 2 years to create Yankee Steiner, which I thought was an industry-changing idea, where I was going to partner up with a team, especially like the Yankees. I mean, they didn't need me. And the Yankees are the biggest, best brand on the planet. But we did come up with a scheme that, to protect the fans. Like, we were worried about the fans getting all this memorabilia, whether it was game use, stuff off the field, and whether it's real, fake. We put a system in place. And then we put together this company. Randy Levine really headed off to really make it happen, along with a couple other executives. But as I'm about to sign the deal, and it took me almost 2 years to get this deal done, it was a mega deal. George Steinbrenner, who was a fan, I'm very grateful for him too. He wasn't somebody who let all kinds of stuff out of the building. He was he always was on top of his brand, and all the storage rooms were filled with collectibles. So I finally get this deal done. And the last thing I say to them, I said, look, if you ever take down this stadium, I've got to take it. I've got to take it down. Because after 2 years negotiating, I go, well, it's too late. We can't put it in the deal. It's too late. But I promise you, if we ever take the stadium down, we'll definitely get you involved. Well, roll forward, like 3 years later, I get a call, come up to the office. I was at the game, and he shows me this, kind of like a blueprint of the new stadium. And he goes, Brandon, we got to figure out what we're going to do here with the new stadium, and we want you to help us figure out what to do with the old stadium. And it was a really very complicated effort because the city owned the stadium. The reason it's like top of my mind today is just today I was talking about 3 different stadiums that are being taken down that I may be working on. 2 of them are college, 1 is pro. And I was just telling the person, like, look, you can get somebody to take a stadium down, but nobody's going to look at the stadium like I did. And I'll tell you why. So we go get the Yankee Stadium thing, and I can tell you the old Yankee Stadium. I can tell you how many urinals. I can tell you the amount of speakers. I mean, I was into every nook and cranny in the old stadium. And to be honest with you, that was a very important stadium to me. I love that stadium. It was a very important stadium to a lot of Yankee fans.
I went there when I was a kid. I was there for David Wells' no hitter.
No, perfect game. I was in the first row. If you look right by third base,
Huh,
I'm right. It was my kid's birthday party. We had 8 seats right there, and
amazing.
we've all had those moments. We've all had those moments in that old stadium. What I love about the Yankees is when I went to them, I said, "Look, I know you got this new stadium. You're putting your heart and soul into a new stadium with a lot of money, but to move forward, and this is kind of true in life, to move forward with the future, you always have to settle the past." And I said, if you really, I know you want to move ahead with this new stadium, but if you really want to do it effectively, you need to show this old stadium the respect.
Absolutely.
It's almost like a funeral. For some people, it almost was. And what I love is that the Yankees said, you're right. You're right. We have to take this thing apart. Because a lot of people would just say, look, just sell the locker room, sell some of the seats. I'm like, no. I'm going to break this thing down into hundreds of thousands of pieces so that every Yankee fan can get a little piece. And we're going to do it in an incredible way. I'm going to put a Yankee Stadium collectible line of product together. And it's going to take us 3 to 4 years to sell the whole thing off. So I can have all these seats instead of just blowing out the seats and giving them away would be disrespectful. So I created bar stools. I created office seats. I created different versions of the seats that you can buy instead of just selling up a quick little seat or a pair of seats. So I came up with all these different versions. I took the black in the outfield, Reggie Jackson, cut it up, and then Reggie signed in silver.
Nice.
Now, most people would just look at that as concrete that's painted black. But if you're a big Yankee fan, you know those home runs that went out there. That's a big deal. The foul pole was, I mean, we cut that up into thousands of pieces and plaqued it up because we all know, that's the foul pole. And you got to see some of the stuff that was on there, written on there. It's crazy. So
Man,
I think that, what the Yankees did and helped me promote and market it, because it was they're moving to this new stadium. They got their hands full, but they know the most important thing always is their brand and their
and the
fans.
fans, yep.
They never get confused about what's important. And when I went to talk to Randy and Lon and Marty Greenspun, like you could see their faces going, "Oh boy, we got so much on our plate," but he's right. And they gave the support because they knew that the fans, by giving the fans the support of the old stadium, being able to hold on to it instead of just making believe that it never existed, which is what so many stadiums do.
Yep.
They knock the stadium down because they're so consumed with the new stadium, which I understand. It's $1.5 billion stadium. You'd be consumed by it. You always have to settle the past, though.
No, the kids
And
got
believe me, there's
memories
some ups and
there.
downs.
You know,
If you go on my website, you can pick up You Gotta Have Balls on Collectible Exchange, and it's free. You just pay for shipping, and it really articulates everything I did with the old stadium, what I sold, who bought it, Derek Jeter's locker, the interaction with so many celebrities and people that wanted seats. And I'm very grateful to the Yankees and grateful for the opportunity because the city owned the stadium and the Yankees were very helpful in trying to figure out how to negotiate, giving the city their money, and then us being able to manipulate, basically maneuver, because it wasn't an easy stadium to take down. It wasn't an easy stadium to remove a lot of the stuff we wanted to take, and it was by far the biggest undertaking. I think I had to lay out almost $18 million for that stadium. It's a lot of money, for a little guy like me. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity and more importantly for the support. I emphasize it because a lot of people say, "Oh, Brian, that's incredible what you did." It, yeah, but I did it with the Yankees. They were my partners, and they lived up to the partnership. Like they didn't say, "Well, that's just gone away. That's the old stadium." No, they helped me with the marketing. They helped me with all the different complications with pulling the stuff out, and they gave that old stadium the respect and giving me the support by doing what I wanted to do and the length of time it took to do it. It just shows you their commitment to their fan base of the way they look at history, and that's why great things happen at Yankee Stadium because it's a lot of it can't just always be. Sometimes sometimes there's a lot of hassles to it. Believe me, you think the freeze that we took, that little facade up on the top. We got to have that. Like those things like weighed 2 tons. That was probably the biggest mistake I made. I mean, who's bringing that home and putting it in your backyard? I think I sold like 2 of them.
yeah, that,
But we lost a lot of money on
you gotta
that.
have
They
a
were
big
very hard.
compound for that.
Sold thousands of bricks. I found the bricks in the batting cage. I found bricks from the 1929, the original stadium.
Wow.
They were in the ceiling of the batting cage. It was unbelievable. And they said, "You're crazy." I said, "No, we gotta have those bricks. Those are some
Those,
sexy bricks."
yeah,
There were 5,000 of them. It cost me there were 5,000 of them. And I think it cost me $50,000 to take the bricks down.
yeah, because you got to
But
be
I
careful
sold
with
those
that.
bricks for $300 each.
Yeah, you got to be careful with taking those out. You don't want to break the bricks. You know, you got
They
to.
were,
It's like
they were like
archaeology.
80 years old, man. I mean, it was
It's like
crazy. But
archaeologists.
the whole thing was crazy. And then also taking the grass off the field from the last game and then freeze drying it. We sold like $1 million worth of grass
Wow,
legally. Yeah, so it was fun. It was cool. It was a great project. Very grateful
amazing.
I'm a big Yankee fan, so I'm very grateful to be involved with it. And then love that I was able to think that wide and big. I don't regret it for a minute. It wasn't the smartest financial move, and I probably could have used my time a little more wisely. It took a long time to unravel out of all this, but I know how much it meant to Yankee fans. And when I see Yankee fans everywhere, they always come to me and thank me, and they got their piece, they got this, and I'm glad for that. I mean, because listen, you're a Yankee fan. You put a part of your life into being a fan of that
Yeah,
team, right?
sometimes you make a little less money, but you make such a bigger impact on the world. And again, like with that old Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built. I mean, I remember going there as a kid. I didn't get a chance to take my kids there, but I brought them to the new stadium. We went over to a game. We had a great time. My buddy,
Yeah,
he got me some tickets right behind third base, and we had a great time. Um,
nothing like
no, no, nothing. You know, my kids, they loved it. They had an amazing time. My wife, she's
yeah.
not a big sports fan, but she said, I even had fun over here. It's a good experience. You know, you take the family out, they play ball, food, just a good time. The one thing I don't like about the stadium is the parking situation. You got to walk so far from the parking garage to the stadium. That's,
In the new stadium, well, let me come in. Let me jump in. I hear you, but in the old stadium, there was no parking. If you went to the old stadium, there was no parking. So, like, at least now there's two major things they did. First of all, the train, Metro North goes right in.
oh, really?
They subway at Metro North. And at least there's enough parking where if you do want to park, you can park. So there may be a couple block walk,
Yeah,
but in the old stadium, you could be circling around to go to a game and literally not be able to park and miss the first three innings of the game. So, yeah, it could be a couple block walk. On a regular normal game, usually there's relatively easy parking within 2 or 3 blocks away at the most.
that's what I found.
Once in a while, it gets a little crazy, but generally, in the old stadium, when you went to a big game, if you didn't get there early, you weren't parking.
I didn't even think
And
about that.
that's problematic.
I used to take the train when we went. Me and my friends would go. So we would get off at the 161st Street stop. I remember
100%. You have
I went to the
train,
David
beach.
Wells game. We took the train that day. I remember it was
Yeah.
one heck of a game. Um, so let me ask you, I mean, look, moving on from Steiner Sports into the new business you're in, I mean, again, obviously you have to overcome obstacles. Nothing is easy. I have a training course where I help. Well, I'm a Wall Street guy, and I provide working capital in small to mid-sized businesses across the United States. It could be a UPS store, it could be a construction company, a deli, doesn't matter. And what I do is I've been taking kids from the Bronx, from Brooklyn, from Harlem, from Newark, and a lot of these at-risk youth kids that they're stuck in a trap because they're young enough to watch the videos. They want to have the money like the ball players. They want to have that lifestyle, but they don't really have that many outlets. And fortunately, in my industry, anybody can kind of jump in and become an overnight millionaire. It's very strange, but it's true. But it requires a lot of hard work and luck. So I created a program where I bring these kids into my office and I kind of help show them different ways. I teach them sales skills so these guys can take that with them wherever they go. And just giving them like I call it turning the lights on, where I'm showing them, hey guys, tell me you don't want to do it, but don't tell me there's no opportunity anymore. I've shown you an opportunity. I don't care where you're from. I don't care if you quit high school. I don't care if you graduated Harvard. if you're willing to come in, put in the work, make the phone calls, and build these relationships, you can make a great life for yourself and your family, like I've been fortunate enough to do for myself. And I always try to show these guys, listen, being an entrepreneur, business owner, it's not an easy road. You're going to deal with your friends and your loved ones discouraging you. The people you thought you can count on are going to be the ones who don't help you out. They don't show the support. You're going to make more money with people that you don't know, just strangers, than you are going to be from the people that are, supposedly friends and family of yours. And it always works out like that. So
I agree with that. I mean, listen, I think it's amazing that you're doing that.
I tell you,
I mean,
it's not
I
easy.
was a poor kid. Not many people made it like I made it from my neighborhood. You need to get some luck. You need to get some breaks and hard work, no doubt. But listen, America is a complicated place, but it is a land of opportunity. And if you want, I'm not saying, I hate when people say, you could be anything when you grow up. That's just not true. So I wish that people wouldn't say that but the one thing you can do is try. And the one thing that more than likely, if you work hard, more than likely you're going to have a pretty good level of success. You may not, listen, I always want to be an NBA player. There's no way. I was not going to happen. But, you can find what you were meant to do by working really hard, staying curious, and being enthusiastic about it. More than likely, you'll find more success than you ever thought about. Now, every now and then, there's a Bill Gates, there's a Gary V. Every now and then. I mean, these are, you know, this, this is, there's Aaron Rodgers, there's Derek Jeter. Like, I mean, there's a lot of people that picked up a baseball bat. There's only one Derek Jeter, one Cal Ripken, one Hank Aaron, but it doesn't mean that all those other players that played are not incredibly successful. So you just got to realize, like, there's some things, if you want to do it, realize it's like getting a lottery ticket. So I tell people all the time, like, you want to be an NBA coach. That's like winning a lottery ticket. It's 32 jobs. You want to become a head coach in a big college. That's add another 50. Let's call it 60. You got 100 head coaching jobs, a real job that will pay you a good amount of money. Call it 70 colleges and 30 professional teams. Like, that's a lottery. I mean, literally go buy a lottery ticket. The odds are almost the same.
Probably
So, like,
better.
yeah, if you want to
Probably
do something
better
like
odds.
that, it doesn't mean that you can't make a lot of money coaching basketball. Just probably not for an NBA or top college team. I was just lucky. I found something I really liked doing. And it was really not the collectibles. It was marketing athletes, which I still do. We just came out with a Paul O'Neill beer called the Warrior 21. You go take a look. It's unbelievable. It's blowing up. I mean, I never thought I'd be in the beer business, but I'm a serial entrepreneur, which is my point. So I was marketing athletes for the first 7 years. I was in business before I started the collectible thing. So you don't really know. What's important is whatever it is you're doing, do it with a lot of enthusiasm. Be really curious. And also, I think what's really important that I try to stress is your rate of growth. I call, be a rose, rate of self-efficiency. If you don't have a rate of growth, there's very little chance you're going to get to a high level of success. That's the only thing you can really get. You cannot, oh, I'm only making this much. Oh, I'm not. Don't worry about that. Worry about your rate of growth. If you're learning, you're going to be growing. Just inevitable that at some point you're going to be really good at what you do, and somebody's going to want to pay you a lot of money to do it. I had to pay a guy $2,000 to come fix my refrigerator the other day. He was not here for more than 2 hours. 2 hours. The part was $500. The bill was $2,500, and he was getting 2,000 for showing up and fixing it. But you know something? Not a lot of guys can fix this type of
That's
refrigerator.
right. The
So,
experience.
and he told me, he goes, go find somebody else that knows how to fix this. So, at the end of the day, the goal is to be really good at something and not stop at good, be great at it, and be extraordinary at it. And if you are, somebody's going to pay attention to that, and you're going to make a lot of money. I was always a really good marketer. I never thought I'd be marketing Mickey Mantle, Derek Jeter, Eli Mann. I never thought that ever happened in my wildest dreams. But I was good at it. I worked really hard at it, and that is not how I made my fortune. It led me to the collectible thing, which is really how I made my fortune by really just extending the relationship I have with all these athletes to fans and customers and giving them what they really wanted.
I have,
So
I have a client right now. He's a big Dolphins fan. He got season tickets. He lives in LA and he flies to every game. That's just what he likes. So one of my partners, his cousin, is one of the owners of Rock Nation Sports, and they have a player, a running back for the Dolphins. So I asked him. I said, "Listen, please, get me this football signed." I gave him a nice football with the Dolphins logo on it. I bought a nice case, and he sent it out. They're going to get it signed for me.
I do a bunch of signings with the wide receiver who played for Alabama.
Oh, really?
He was going to come here one night and play basketball. I have an indoor basketball court. He ended up not coming, but so you ever need another Dolphin item, let me know. But
A Dolphin,
listen,
yeah, I definitely. That's 100% because my client is like such a diehard fan that for me, I don't mind doing these things because I know it makes him happy. What he does for me, he helps me provide a life for my family that allows me to.
find out who's important, find out what's important, do what's important for who's important every day. If you have an important relationship, whether it be a wife, a big client, you got to earn your keep every day.
That's correct.
If you earn your keep every day, your wife won't leave you and your big clients will never leave you. It's when you start taking things for granted, which obviously gratitude is such an important element in being successful, but earn your keep every day. Figure out how you can add value to every important relationship you have, and you won't lose those relationships because you'll never take a relationship for granted. And value is what you can do for someone that they can't do for themselves. So most people are not leaving valuable relationships because they love and appreciate what you're doing for them, whatever that may be. So earn your keep every day is something that I talk a lot about. If you want to maintain important relationships, know who's important, know what's important to who's important, and do what's important for who's important every day. Earn your keep.
That's right. I tell everybody there's no free lunches in my world.
No,
Every day
sir.
I get up, I answer my phone at 3 o'clock in the morning if I'm awake. I got clients in LA, it's 3 hours behind. Their 9 o'clock is my 12 o'clock. And if they're just getting done running their business, now they got time to talk. If I'm not available, what good am I to them? That's how I look at it. And I try to instill that in a lot of my guys. The problem I have, Brandon, is a big sense of entitlement. When people come into my office, I got a really nice office. I got about 6,000 square feet in the Trump building on 40 Wall Street. And again, like you, self-made entrepreneur, rags to riches. I came up very poor. I don't want to get into the whole from A to here. But
Rags to riches, blah, blah, blah. You and I grew up the same way,
so
and you should be proud. But, the fact of the matter is that I really feel like all that shit is an advantage to me now. I'm glad I grew up as messed up as I was, as poor as I was. I would never have the success I have now, the hunger, without having had so little growing up.
I
So
feel
I tell people, man, you got cheated growing up in that nice, comfortable home.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's
you missed out on. You missed out. Yeah, that's why. That's
struggle.
why the light is a little bit, a little dull. My light switch is burning bright because I understand what it's like to have that refrigerator empty.
People don't understand that sometimes when you go through that struggle, it's what makes you stronger. It's what brings the best out of you. And everybody wants to be, again, where I go back to my experience, I get a lot of entitlement coming in. People come into my office, they don't make any money out here in the real world. They're come in looking for a job. I provide them an opportunity. And honestly, I can earn ten to $100,000 on a commission on a deal that takes me 30 minutes. And it's not a hard 30 minutes. It's an easy 30 minutes, a couple minutes on the phone, asking the questions, finding out the problem so we can show the customer how this money can work.
But it took you a lot of years to be able to figure that stuff out.
I tell you, I learned a lot of this stuff from the used car business. Once I was in the used car business, I was able to take that sales skills because those are forced sales.
Are you a Joe Girard fan? How to sell anybody anything?
No, not so much because everybody doesn't always need what you're selling. I'm not an overseller where hey, I'm going to sell you something just because I'm going to make money off of it. A lot of my clients get put in bad positions because they take extra money and then they don't really think about the payback because they have to pay it back with the fees. Our money is not cheap. So for me, my goal is to always show how to bring value to a situation. Show the customer, hey, I don't need to just make the most money off of you. Let's put this money to work in a way that's going to be positive, that's going to turn a profit. That profit may be paying your employees because your customer didn't provide you with the check you were supposed to get. And if you don't cover this payroll this week, all the training, all the time, all the energy you put with those employees, they're going to jump shit to your competitor. So it's cheaper for you to pay $2 on every dollar just to make sure that payroll check clears this week and your problems are over. So again, my goal, and I teach all my guys, find the problem so we can create an effective solution. That's how you do things in business because you want to make win-wins out here. If it's going to be a win-lose, you might get one deal with them, maybe two, but eventually they're going to float off because everybody wants to feel they won out of a deal. No matter which way you look at it, nobody wants to feel like they got the short end of the stick. And my goal is to always show these gentlemen, hey, listen, I grew up poor. I know what it's like to have nothing. So for me, I'm not stopping. Millions, no problem, but where's the next one? Where's another one? Because I always have this deep down subconscious feeling that it can all be gone tomorrow. So I don't stop. And
I always have a deep down feeling of wake up broke.
I'm telling you, this
It's
is
a great,
something that
great
drives
way to
me.
keep yourself motivated. Wake up, be grateful for what you have, and make believe you have nothing. It's a good way to start because you have nowhere to go but up from that point, as opposed to worrying about what you should have, what you could have. Oh, I got this. Oh, I don't have that. I don't worry. I make believe I have nothing, and it works out for me.
That's it. If you were to give younger folks that are just kind of working a job, because a lot of my audience are people that are working jobs and they're kind of taking the step, dipping the toe into becoming an entrepreneur. They don't want to quit their job yet. They're just kind of unsure. And they got a lot of their family telling them, hey, don't do that. Do it safe. Keep the job. I tell people your job is only as safe as the next layoff round. I mean, at the end of the day, I
Yeah, but here's how I look at it. Let me help you. I don't agree with that. I think that I'm a fan. If you want to be an entrepreneur in this day and age, when I was an entrepreneur as a kid, there were side hustle meant you have to have like a second job. You can work a second job out of your house, out of your basement, and have a full time job. I like having the backbone of a real job, doing the best you can at that job, and then side hustling, doing other things to build up enough knowledge, enough of a traction. So when you do go into something, because remember, entrepreneurism is part of it is having a really good idea. Part of it is having the leadership and sales skills to take that idea and sell it in. Remember, you're doing something that's new that no one has heard of, no one's seen. So you got to have the sales skills. You got to be able to lead it in. But also, there's a lot of risk. And that's I think what really deters people is the risk factor. So if you have a job and you're really that committed about trying something else, no problem. Put the time in on the weekends, put the time in at night, and create that side hustle. And then when things start rolling, at least you can kind of sprint, or at least you can kind of roll into this new thing instead of quitting your job, starting from square zero, and putting all your marbles on this thing. I always say it's like a lot better, and believe me, I know all about all in and get what's a lot better is like now that I've started these new companies, I'm 60, now I'm a pretty wealthy guy. Like, honey, I'm just trying these things. Not, I'm just trying a couple of these things. So I have a bunch of investments in real estate. I invested in a bank. I invested in a radio station. Just trying. I'm learning about these things. Again, what's your rate of growth? I'm just growing. I'm not risking my life here. If it doesn't work, I tried it. But what happens is when you go home and you tell your wife, "Oh, I'm investing in this thing. This is going to be the next biggest thing," and it doesn't work, it starts really messing up your confidence. So you're better off starting small, right? Bite-sized, snackable ideas, and you try them. If it doesn't work, there's always two things that happen when something doesn't work. There's a lesson and there's a blessing. So there's always something good that comes out of failure. Always. You never learn shit from winning. Nobody ever won and learned anything. You don't learn shit from it. You learn from losing. You learn from those
The
blows.
winning is
But
the
to me, I'm
byproduct.
a big fan of stop trying to find this purpose and passion, the end all for your life. No, work's work. We got to make a living. Paying the bills is real. So don't ignore it. But it doesn't mean you got to live with that shitty job you have forever. In this day and age, with everything going on, you can work and do unbelievable things 2, 3 hours a night from your basement
Mm-hmm.
and never leave your house. Our parents were working 2 jobs, 16 hours a day. There was no such thing. No internet, none of that. So you take advantage of the environment you're in. I'm a big fan of taking the risk. I was always an entrepreneur, but I always had something stable because when you don't have money, you're not making a living to cover the necessities that you need, you start making shitty decisions based on being desperate in order so you can eat and pay the rent.
Yep.
So when you have all the necessities, you can pay your rent, live normal. Maybe you're not living like the high life, but you have what you need. You're in a lot better position to take these risks and gamble. You have nothing to lose. And then if it starts kicking, well, boom. I mean, can you imagine what it was like me to come home, we're talking 35, 40 years ago, and tell my wife that I was going to sell signed baseballs and that's what I was going to afford to send our kids to school and have a life? My wife's like, you're out of your mind. Who's going to buy that? Who in their right mind is buying a baseball with some ink on it? Can you imagine? You think it was easy?
No.
So I was in public relations, I was marketing players, and it took me a while, it took me a while to get that going. So, I bought myself some time while I was making a decent living, nothing great, not a lot of money. But while I was doing that, I was building up this other platform to ultimately would have been my success, which was the collectibles. So don't be afraid to try things. Don't be afraid to have a job that you don't particularly love, as long as you know it's not going to be a forever thing. But while you're doing with that, don't get so consumed that you're not trying and looking at other opportunities. And then most importantly, what's your rate of growth? Because no matter what you're doing, love it, hate it, whatever it is, you always must be growing. Because if you're green, you're growing. You must stay green. If you're ripe, you're rotten. And if you're resting, you're rusting. You don't want to rest. You don't want to be ripe and say, oh, I'm good. You always have to have a high level of growth. And if you don't have a high level of growth on some level, you're wasting the short little time that we have on this planet.
I tell you, Brendan, I created my course for people to be able to work their full time job and start this little by little
There's your testimonial. There you go.
until they're
I mean,
able to do it.
I'm your cover boy, man. I'm your
I,
guy. Let's
I love
go.
it. I love it. I tell you, because people always are looking for that one big deal that falls out of the sky. And that's
Doesn't
not how it
have to.
works. It's just not how it works. I wound up, honestly, I tell you, I didn't even know my industry existed. It's the merchant cash advance business. And I tell you, when I found it, all I did was kind of stumbled on it. And I said, this is what I'm going to do forever. I literally burnt all the bridges. I lit the ships on fire and I stopped everything and told my wife, I don't care if it takes me 5 years. I'm going to be a multimillionaire from this business because it's so easy. It's just nobody wants to do the work. And the work is building those relationships, making those phone.
I think that let me help you a little bit, Alton. I hear it all the time that people don't want to do the work. I think that people I just gotta make one little correction on that. Because I hear it all the time and I see it all the time. But I think to help people that are listening, it's about how do I get in the mindset to want to do more work? How do I get in the right mindset to be more aggressive and more active? And the way you do that is by turning up your curiosity, by turning up your enthusiasm. Enthusiasm, the root word of enthusiasm is enthusios. That means to be with God. You must have some kind of faithful connection that if you work hard and you're curious and enthusiastic, that you will find your way and do something incredible. You've got to have some faith behind that. So to get in the mindset to work harder, which is really the issue at hand, I don't think people are lazy. I think they're more lost. And to create that lost part of your mindset is turn up your enthusiasm, turn up your you gotta have this curiosity. You gotta want to learn more. Gets back to rate of growth, and then most importantly, just as another thing for a mindset is to have an expectation level. I'm just gonna try something. What stops people and gets them lazy is that it's never gonna work out.
Oh, no.
See, I'm working really hard. It doesn't work. It's not stop. You're just trying something. And whatever it is you're trying, you put your all into and realize that there's always a right and a left turn right up the street and a U turn to go back if you want to try something else. You're not married to everything you do. The only thing you're married to is yourself and your conviction about what you're trying to do. So I think what happens is turn up your enthusiasm, turn up your curiosity, and realize instead of trying for the home run, oh, this job's not going to lead me anywhere. How do you know? It's like at the end of the day, try some things without the expectation you're going to make a fortune, but more the expectation that what you're going to learn. Every job I always took is like, what can I learn? Every athlete I've ever met, I didn't look at, oh, wow, I'm meeting this player. No, what can I learn from this player? This player is like one of the greatest. I'm meeting Muhammad Ali. I gotta get some out of this guy. Like, how did this guy become who he is? And I interview the hell out of him, talk to him, and get those secrets and try to implement them into my own mindset. So the people that are listening, it's like it's not that they don't want to work; it's that they can't get their mindset right,
That's true.
and
I'll
that's
give you.
and that's a big problem. And it's the fundamental difference between people that are good, great, extraordinary. I never wanted any of that. I didn't want to be good. I didn't want to be great. I didn't even want to be extraordinary. You know why? Because I wanted to be the only. I wanted to be the guy that's walking down the street going, that guy, yeah, that guy's the only. Like, it's unbelievable what he did. That was what I was always shooting for. I wanted to be. I didn't know what business I was going to be in, but I wanted to be in a business that said that's. I've never seen anything like it. That's the only guy I ever know that's ever been able to do da 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 da. And that was always my goal, and I was willing to work hard for it, and I was willing to stay curious and learn everything I needed to learn to do it. So what I tell people is like to get to that point, start off small. The best way to get some big opportunities to start small and just try some things. So if it doesn't work out, the failure doesn't cripple you. So I tried it. Now I'm trying something else. But when you're trying it, you put your all into it. But realize because you put your all into it, it doesn't work, doesn't mean you're a failure. It means that there's another road that you missed. You missed the turn off for another road. And you'll learn from what you just did that'll help you on the next turn off and the next road you're going on. And I think sometimes people get themselves so down on failure, or they tried something that didn't work out. But we all know anybody who's had any kind of success that the amount of failures and roads we've gone down that have sucked has been enormous. I mean, I could spend an hour telling you about all the bad shit and failures that I've gone through. And I'm grateful. I mean, and the last thing I'd say is really important, and that is for people that are listening, and that is all the bad shit that's ever happened to you, the worst things in the world that's ever happened to you, you have to learn to fall in love with. You have to learn to appreciate the worst thing that's happened. I'm talking about from the girl that dumped you, or the guy that dumped you, the class that you failed, the business deal you went into and lost money on. You have to fall in love with those things and be grateful for them because that's what enables, makes you into who you are, and that's what gets you ready and pushes you to get to the next level without those things happening. So not only do you have to kind of work those things out, but most people, they're hostile, they're angry, they're disappointed about these things that have happened. I fall in love with those things that have happened. I'm grateful. I'm so thankful that that girl dumped me. I was heartbroken at the time. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't too happy because I really liked her, but I also realized that I was not anywhere near the boyfriend I should have been, and I wasn't maybe treating her as well as I could have been treating her. And I knew better now, which enables me to be married for 35 years because I know what it takes to earn my keep with a relationship. And I don't know if I'd ever know that without getting dumped a couple of times. If you know what I'm saying? So these are very important aspects, like fall in love with some of the worst things that's ever happened to you and be grateful that they happened. Because that's the stuff that ultimately is going to give you the ignition, the energy to go and do something extraordinary.
Well, you know what they say about the guys who, the greats. They say the greats, if you always ask them, hey, you're the greatest, whatever, in your field, most of the time, these folks are just like, I don't think I'm the greatest. I don't look at myself as the greatest. I look at myself as, man, I should be doing better. I ran the mile in this. Why didn't I do it in this? And again, for me, this has like always been my driving factor that now that I've made a few million, I'm like, okay, I'm nobody in the real world. Yes, where I grew up, my environment back then would say, hey, this was everything I would have asked for. But as you get to these next levels in life, you start realizing, whoa, I'm nobody. There's guys that are sitting on not no more hundreds of millions. Now they're billions.
The only thing that's in the way of you doing more of what you're doing well is you. It's as simple as that. Like you made a few million, okay. Listen, Bill Gates, or they make a few $1,000,000 a day.
Some in and out.
You know, to me, if I made a few $1,000,000 in a year, that would be a lot of money. But I've made a few $1,000,000 in a year. Like making $10 million a year would be great. Like everybody has their own perspective, but the reality is, it is a perspective, and it really does depend on you. Like I'm sure when you were growing up, if someone said, "Look, you can make a few $1,000,000," you'd be like, "Really? Where do I sign up for that? I do anything." Now that you've made a few $1,000,000, you're like, "Shit, I can make exactly." What's stopping you from making 10 million
Yep.
or 20 million? That's what's important to you. Or maybe making $3 million gives you the keys to maybe not work at all anymore and put that in the bank and make $150,000 a year on 5% interest, so you can go fishing every day and just hang out with your kids. And maybe that's the win. The hard part isn't about making a lot of money. The hard part is figuring out what you want to do with your life and the amount of money you need to do with that life that you want to live. And it's a lot more complicated, especially when you start making a lot of money. It's very addictive. And money obviously does not get you happiness. Everyone knows that, but it will decrease your unhappiness.
Absolutely.
And it's tricky. What happens is it starts decreasing some unhappiness, and then you run out of unhappiness to fucking decrease,
And then
and
you
then you're
start being
stuck.
happy.
So it's really important to start thinking about what winning is for you and what winning is for your spouse. So you understand when you get to that certain point, when you've kind of won, and you understand what winning is and what you're going to do with the winning. Because a lot of people don't stop once they've won. They want to just keep winning, 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 winning. And then they sit with a ton of money, come home one day, the wife left, kids hate them. You don't even know what the hell to do with yourself. So that's another problem.
Yep.
Like that's kind of my book here that I'll promote, but that's what this book is about: living on purpose. My second book was you gotta have balls, which talks about
Yeah,
everything about
I
the
seen
Yankees.
that book. That's a cool.
But the living on purpose is my best work. I mean, it just talks about what do you do after you hit a bunch of your goals and you've had some success. Now what do you do? What's the plan now? And a lot of people have the plans to make the millions and what it takes, and they work hard. But then you accomplish that. Then what's your plan
Then
then?
they get
And a lot
stuck,
of people have that plan.
stagnated.
I think it's a good lesson, hopefully, for people to realize. But remember, curiosity and enthusiasm will lead you to the right mindset, and it'll remove laziness or remove lackluster out of your attitude. Because when you're enthusiastic and curious, lots of good things happen because you have God with you, you got your mindset, you got an 11-year-old mindset with you that means I can do anything. And that's what enthusiasm and curiosity combined together bring you. It brings you, I can do anything.
I've been with my wife 23 years now. I'm 44. We've been together since we were very young. We have 18-year-old twin boys, and I take my kids everywhere. Now they graduated high school this past year. So now what we do is I set them up their companies. I gave them 800 credit scores, and now they have offices in Wall Street in my building.
Where are they going to school?
Well, they went to school. They went to school, high school in New Jersey. They got
Where are they going to college?
no college. What they're doing is I'm keeping them on Wall Street. I set them up their own companies. And I feel that if I had somebody when I was that age to put me on Wall Street and put me in that environment and learn those skills, that I would have done much better than going and taking a trip to college. I feel that if they want to go to college and pick up certain skills, absolutely. But to just go to college to have the college experience of getting drunk and partying, I say, hey, kids, from 18 to 25, you're mine. I let your mother raise you. 18 to 25, you're mine. I'm going to teach you the ways of the world. I'm going to teach you the skills you need to survive and thrive. And then you can always go to college later. But right now, while I'm still here, I want to make sure that you guys are financially sound.
And your kids bought into that? They're cool?
Yeah, I've been bringing them to Wall Street since they were 13 when I first came here. I've only
I got to tell you, man, you got some balls, man. I mean, I've heard a lot of. I've never heard that.
no.
I like it. I mean, I'm good with it. I mean, I'm like, that's
I
cool.
think that
It's funny because I went to my mother and said, I think maybe I should go to college. And my mother, since I remember, said, "You're going to college." And when my senior says, "I understand if you don't want to go to college. You've been on the street for 10 years already, learning since you're 10 years old. If you don't want to go to school, I would understand. If you're ready, but I think if you really want to own a company, run a company, you may want to have to go get an accounting or
well,
maybe become a lawyer,
well
that kind of thing.
at that
But I've
time,
never heard your rhetoric. I've never heard what you just said. I mean, that is
I'm going to
outrageous.
tell you. I'm going to tell you why I feel this way. Because 20 years ago, you absolutely needed college to get any skills because you didn't have a way of obtaining these skills. Now with this technology in our hands that my kids are born with, you can learn any skills you really need on YouTube if you have the motivation. Again, you won't get the fancy degree, but you'll be able to utilize those skills. You don't have any idea, Brandon, how many college graduates come in my office
Can't find the bathroom.
looking for a job, making commission because they cannot find a job in the workforce because whatever skills they went for are now outdated. I utilize artificial intelligence. And listen, me, I didn't know how to turn a computer on 14 years ago. My wife set me up my first email when I was 31 years old. I now am learning how to write code for artificial to use this artificial intelligence to help with my sales team. It holds
I love it.
conversations.
I love it. Good for you, man. That's
And
awesome.
like I said, with my children, I said, look, you can always go to college later, guys. Right now, I won't always have an office in the Trump Tower and all of these tremendous opportunities for you guys to take advantage of. I don't know what's going to happen next year or 5 years. My industry keeps getting tougher and tougher because the bigger companies are coming in, the PayPal, Amex, Square, Stripe, and they're doing what we do. So I'm like, guys, we have, I'd say, 5, 10 more years left before everything is taken over by these big mega companies and there's no more room for us. In the meantime,
I love it. I love it. That's amazing, man. Good for
in
you.
the meantime, I'm going
Man,
to take
I'm gonna digest this.
advantage.
I'm a very pro college guy.
My wife went to college. She went to Monroe, got her an accounting
Yep.
degree. And again, like I
Yeah.
said, she uses those skills that she learned to run her business now. She's able to keep the books. She teaches me with the spreadsheets. She writes the formulas. I'm not saying that college is a bad thing. What I'm saying
Get it. Get it.
is my kids coming in when they're 22 and having $50,000 worth of debt, or I bring my kids by the time they're 22, they have $300,000 in the bank, and now they can go pay school cash if they want to learn certain skills. That's kind of that's my kind of outlook on it.
Um,
And don't get me wrong, my wife doesn't always agree with me with it. But right now, she likes that fact that she still gets to keep the kids with her every day. The kids travel with us when we go. I'm in Denver right now. I went to Wyoming yesterday, and I was looking at some real estate. I've been buying up properties at tax auctions around the country, and I'm getting the kids into this. So some of the properties I grab, I put in their name, in their company. And as we travel, I show the kids, okay, we're going here because we have to do this. And then I'm just giving them the lessons, the life lessons that were never taught to me. I
I love
I
it.
had to
That's
slam
good
my
for
head
you.
through walls.
That's great. I love it. Well, it's been awesome, man. I love this. I learned something myself here.
If you
This is
have,
a new view that I've got. I love it.
if you got one book you would recommend to everybody to read, aside from yours, what book would you recommend for like an entrepreneur just starting out?
I read one of three books. I read first of all, think and
I
grow
love it.
rich.
It's my favorite book.
Think and grow rich. It doesn't say work hard. No, it says think and grow rich. The think part. People don't understand how powerful your thinking can be. That's why mental mindset's what I love about that book. I also think everything they don't teach you at Harvard Business School. Love that book. And I love Harvey Mackay's Swimming with the Sharks. Love that book too. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and
That's a
Influence
good
with
one.
People. mandatory reading in every company I've ever worked in for my employees. Harvey McKay, Swimming with the Sharks. I'm a Harvey McKay disciple. I'd probably be nowhere having not read all his books and been part of his mastermind for the last 10 years. He's a brilliant, brilliant business guy. I love him. And then Think and Grow Rich.
Napoleon Hill, one of my favorite books. I tell you, life-changing book right there for me. I was able to write. I started writing my goals down, and I tell you that I've surpassed those goals every single time.
Always do. Always do.
All right, guys. So listen, Brandon, where could everybody find you to purchase a copy of your book, to buy some stuff on the
Go to Collectible Exchange. Go to Collectible Exchange. You get the book for free. Just pay for the shipping. I'm a big LinkedIn guy, but you got to follow me, or go on my Facebook and just like my Facebook page. I put a lot of content. If you're into some of my little sayings and things and my videos, I put them all up on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. I answer everything. If you have a question, don't hesitate. If you have stuff you want to sell, you have athletes and stuff you're interested in doing work with, just reach out that way. And I'm very reachable. I respond to all of it.
All right, guys. Well, here you have it. A great episode, Brandon Steiner. Everybody will see you on the next episode. Have a great day, folks.
Thanks for having me.